Hi, handbook users. Book about relationshipping. That is a new coaching term that I've been using, and it has not made its way into the handbook yet. But what relationshipping is a huge concept that gels everything together, and it's just a way of being. It's when you're trying to make the relationship happen instead of him. So, what falls under relationshiping are so many different things. I am doing more writings on this and will incorporate it eventually into the handbook. But remember, everything has to be congruent. So, relationshiping, what I've covered thus far, it's of course trying to control the relationship and using your energy to move the relationship along. And it's a it's when you're relationshiping, when you're trying to control the relationship or using your energy to try and move the relationship along, the resistance that you experience from the man is quite upsetting and frustrating, and it creates arguments. And you're really looking at to fix this, you're really looking at relationship space. So let me say this a different way. What you're violating is relationship space, because you want to give him the space to move the relationship along, and you want to give him the space to move towards you. Do you see why relationshiping is a huge topic? It's really huge. But I am going to attempt to give you its elements. Fair enough question. This is one coaching tool that I haven't done a deep dive on, and I think this is a good venue to do that. So I would say in the handbook, just so you know where I'm coming from, I'm looking at the section on relationship problems. And under that, I'm looking at communicating. And remember, the communicating are the seven stages of communication and interaction with the man. I guess the seven stages of relationships also, and leaning forward, of course, and planning your schedule. Your schedule is yours personally. When you start planning the relationship schedule, that changes everything. And that's why it's crucial to keep your own schedule. Like whatever it is that you do in your life, whether it's with your friends or your family or something you do for self care or me time, you've got to keep that segmented and ever present on your calendar, your schedule, almost like a ritual. And when it comes to the schedule for the relationship, that's a two-person thing in the relationship. Remember, there's you, there's him, and the two of you combine a separate entity of the relationship. The schedule of the relationship really interacts with relationship space. And we can be imposing. That feminine energy as women, we could be imposing because we have all these beautiful ideas and we want to share them. That could kind of push him out of the relationship space because he's not into that. But it's a give and take. And when it comes down to that emotional attraction, you want to allow the space for him to experience the emotional attraction, because that's what keeps the relationship thriving. That's what keeps um, him picking up when you're being irresistible. That's what keeps him desiring you, wanting to spend time with you, adoring you. I'm not talking about mesmerizing or head games or anything like that. I'm talking about his natural attraction and desire to spend time with you. And you have to allow him some input in how that happens. And the way we allow him some input is by giving him more of an active role in scheduling what's going on with the relationship. And so, don't I know you're thinking about, okay, what about my boundaries? Your boundaries are there. Your wants and your desires and your don't wants, they are definitely there. But let me give you an example. If you're dating someone who is an outdoorsy kind of guy, or let's say that your guy is a foodie and he wants to cook or he wants to try different things, you kind of don't want to inundate the relationship schedule with all the stuff that you want to do without there being some stuff that he wants to do. So you kind of want to see what he has in mind, and then you make the suggestions of what it is that you want to do. But remember, in addition to what he wants to do, he also wants to please you. So if he knows there's a particular restaurant that you like, or particular dish that you like, or something as simple as bringing you flowers, or you guys going to the movies, or maybe there's a favorite spot that you like to go to for a walk or something like that, allow him the scheduling space to please you, to surprise you, to to do something that he thinks he wants to give to you or share with you. Do you see where I'm coming from with this? Rather than I think the most recent issue I came up with was couple scheduling. And because you're dealing with it, let's say you're dealing with a couple that they're always out and about every weekend and this and that, and you you're trying to schedule couple time to hang out with these friends. Guys are guilty of this too. Um, that really cuts into the relationship scheduling a little bit, but you do need social time as a couple. So that's one of the issues I've been coaching on lately. But do you see what I'm saying? There are so many different aspects to a we schedule that, and women by nature, we could say, "Oh, I think we should do this. I think we should do that." And on the opposite end, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. That is an issue. So you have to one extreme, you want to allow him the space to pursue the relationship and to make plans and schedules for the we time, the couple time, but at the same time you want to have some input. And that's a problem that I see that arises, especially, this community of people who own women who own the handbook can go leaning back to the extreme, like, oh, I'm just sitting here and I'm being beautiful, and I'm being, and I'm not doing. At some point, there's something that you want, there's something that you desire. It's okay to share that. You have an idea, you have like, I think I prefer this, I prefer that. What do you think? You see, you've got to have some input. You can't just be like, "Oh, I don't know. I just like spending time with you." Boring. Okay? There's something about you that he likes. Hey, let him experience it. Whether you're witty or funny or demure or calm, you still eat, right? You still enjoy some form of entertainment, whether you want to be indoors or outdoors. It's okay to say what you feel like. It's okay to make suggestions based on what would please you. And I find a lot of men, and just in conversation and online when they reach out to me, is it's like she never wants to do anything. She never, it's just like always I have to make the decision. Have you run into that? So how do we fix that? And you already know what you want, and maybe you have to give it a little thought. Maybe your suggestions could get him going to say, "Well, I was kind of thinking we would go bike riding today." And that's where compromise comes in. Well, I thought we'd go to the beach. Well, maybe we could bike ride to shore, the lake. Do you see? It's thinking on your feet, feeling on your feet, responding on your feet. But I would say that there is some of your positive masculine energy that has to come into play in you being prepared so that you're not always like, oh, I don't know. In the I know I have some of the advanced leaning back members listening, and yes, I did cover this in the mini masculine moments. This is one of those mini masculine moments where your girl is preparing your boy, that your feminine energy is preparing your masculine energy to contribute on a planning basis. So it's like, okay, here are some of the things I would like to do. I would possibly, whatever it is, I want to be outdoors. Whatever it is, I know I would prefer to stop for lunch, or I know I want ice cream, or I'd love to see this movie, or I'm kind of feeling like spending time alone, kind of, googly eyeing each other and everything. So somewhere quiet, somewhere private, something like that would be more up my alley. Do you see how this planning is more about what you want, how your feminine is guiding your masculine in this task of um, having ideas available, having already gone through it in your mind? And it's not a far in advance planning. It could just be that morning when you're taking a bath or showering, like, and you're thinking about, what would please me today? What am I feeling? What am I drawn towards? And then if he's surprising you with something completely different, that's cool, because at least you've come up with some suggestions to utilize at that time. All right. So that's the scheduling part. That's where a lot of people, those are the issues I've heard on the scheduling part. If you have any additional issues on that, I would be interested to hear it. You can drop me an email, or better yet, leave a comment below. And that way, if it's private, you can email me. But if not, just drop ideas down in the comments. That would be really cool. So yeah, I went off on a tangent on scheduling. So let's go back to control, and this is, we're talking about guiding the relationship, or moving the relationship along, because that's really what relationshiping is. It's a form of leaning forward, but it's made up of many different parts coming together to be a one big huge problem. And so I've coached on this, and that's actually where I'm sure I've seen the term relationshiping again. I've seen it somewhere before I started using it, but when I coached with it, I used it as a term to pull apart all of the minuscule things the client was doing, so that she could see that her general approach and existence in this relationship was a forward leaning experience. So I had to pull it apart into its miniature parts, its individual parts, so that she could see what was going on. So the controlling of the relationship, let's see, if you look at it as, again, there's you, there's him. The two of you come together, and you're coming together. What you create is a third area, and that third area is the relationship. So you never truly fuse into each other to become one thing. There's you, there's him, and then together you create that third area of the relationship. And that area of the relationship is what thrives when you lean back. That's creating relationship space right in there. That's where he comes in to interact with you, and you interact with him. When you're leaning forward, you diminish that space. And that's when you get the grinding, grating, relationshiping, and all the different various moving little pieces of it. All right. Control is when you envision something or you have a vision, an idea of what it should look like, or even an outcome, what you feel the outcome should be. And you're dead set on it. You're fixed. You're inflexible. Whatever it is, I'm not going to go into details on this, but just apply it to a possible situation that you've experienced. And it's more than communication because your energy, your desire, your thoughts, your feelings, everything is gravitating or pushing this agenda. That's control. How would we fix that? It's like, okay, T, beautiful description. How do you fix it? The first thing is, of course, to turn your focus inward. But then when you turn your focus inward, look at what it is that you are anticipating, expecting, or envisioning. All right. And if you're expecting something from him, that's the first part. That's the first problem. Instead, consider what you want, what you desire. And this is a two punch approach. Consider what you don't want and what you don't desire. And from there, what the don't want and don't desire, that's where your boundary will reside. All right. And ahead of that is what you want, what you do desire. And you want to keep this all within your realm. You don't want to push that out on him. Again, remember when I talked about suggestions? You could make suggestions to say, oh, well, I was thinking of this. I would kind of like that. What do you think? This sounds, I was looking forward to maybe this because it becomes more of a give and take. You're making suggestions, but maybe, and depending on his personality, he wanted to surprise you or he was thinking of this. And do you see how it's like a dance? It's back and forth, give and take, and it allows him his space without feeling crowded out or pushed out or that energy of, oh, she's not happy, she's not satisfied, nothing I do makes her happy, she's always miserable, or every time we do this she's not happy. Or maybe it's him. Maybe he wants something and he feels that never happens. And every time you guys step into this conversation or this area or this place, he ends up frustrated. Okay, you're like, how is that control? It's control because there's no, I don't want to say equality, but there's no space. That's the right word. There's no space for him to communicate or for you to understand what's going on for him when that happens. And that's where we go back to our awareness. You want to be aware, and if you're just focused on what your agenda is, the outcome that you want, the expectation, the anticipation, or what it is that you've envisioned, you may miss that little cue that, I'm not trying to be a mind reader or walk on eggshells, but it seems like something's wrong. And I would pause. It's a good idea to go back and listen to the video we covered on the male ego. Yeah, that may help a little bit in this area. So avoiding this whole situation or dealing with it if it's coming from his side, the issue of control the issue of minimizing, well, not even minimizing, wrong word, strike that. Turning your anticipations and expectations inward and analyzing them. Why am I imposing this expectation on him or the relationship? Why am I imposing this anticipation on him or the relationship? What is it that I want? What is it that I don't want? So if you notice here, this isn't a clear answer. I'm sure we're teasing this apart. We're pulling it apart because there's something underneath there that's causing this bundle of anticipation, expectation, and envisioning what something should look and feel like. And just to be consistent, I'm going to go just a little bit deeper. Your relationship needs. If you're realizing that the person that you're involved with is not meeting your needs, then is this a need that has to be met in a relationship? Is it a need that just needs to be met in your life? Or is it a need that is just 100% personal and you're expecting him to meet it? Or is it truly something that you require in a relationship and you're just now starting to realize that I'm not getting this need in this relationship? Well, without putting any control or expectation or anticipation or envisioning something from him or from the relationship, you have to take a step back and go, is this something that is mandatory for me in a relationship? Not looking at him or this relationship, but is this something that I need in a relationship to be happy? Is it a must for me? And if it is, you guys might not be on the same page, and maybe you need to weigh if this is something that I must have in a relationship. Maybe this isn't the relationship for me. And this isn't the time. Please, 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 ladies, don't have the relationship talk with him. Like, where's this relationship going? Or this isn't what I really wanted. Nope, not the time. Take the pause. This is something for you to start evaluating within yourself. Don't impose this upon him. Don't be like, okay, it's over. You're not the kind of guy I don't want to be with. I'll give you an example. Um, I'm not into cigarettes. I'm not into nicotine, all that. I can't deal with smoker. And oh my God, the last time I dated a smoker, the kisses, nope, 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 nope. Do not like the taste of tobacco on a man's mouth. Can't do it. So was dating someone in particular, and once I realized he was a smoker, that was kind of it. And but I didn't stop dating him immediately. You know how we do in the circle of interaction. I started slowly allowing time and space for others to um appealed to me and to, make their approach and this and that. And eventually someone else became more appealing, and I just kind of, had less and less time for him. And it was more of a natural thing. And I never told him that it was the cigarettes because, you have to think about it. Do you really want to tell everyone why they're not qualified? No, it's just not a good fit. I know I'm kind of busy. One guy I did tell him, I won't go into that because this is public. It's a public forum. But I did eventually tell him. He was like, "What was wrong? What happened with us?" And I just had to tell him. And he was like, "Ah, damn." But it was nothing that he could, that was beyond his control. Anyway, I digress. So you want to start giving it time, but you want to pause. And that's my focus here. I'm not telling you to leave the relationship or to break up with him. What I'm talking about now is the pause and the inner evaluation as to, is this a relationship need? Because you could be in a relationship and decide, oh, all the other positives are worth my trying to think if this boundary is movable, if this relationship need is a must. Again, back to that inquiry. So you see how deep I went on that? Do you see what a deep dive that was? I'm almost thinking I should do this topic of relationshiping into different parts because I'm not sure I could cover this all in less than 20 minutes. This may require um, another comeback, another go round at it. So let's see. I want to give you enough information about relationshiping so that you could recognize when you're doing it. As a matter of fact, let me go to the actual article and let's see, because it's the article that got your attention to email me with that question. So let me go to the article and take it from there just to make sure that I'm covering at least enough of the topic and I could um, revisit it on another recording. So, this was the article. Lean back to stop relationshiping. Relationshiping is a form of leaning forward. It's when you try to control the relationship. Let's reverse this masculine phenomenon so you can stop the arguments and stop being upset or frustrated. Instead of relationshiping, let him put in the energy to move the relationship along. This applies to whether you've just met, you're dating, living together, involved for years, engaged, or married. Leaning back creates a safe place for him to focus on you and to focus on the relationship. Give him this space to operate in. Side note, relationship space. You see what I'm talking about? Whether he's pulling away, man caving, or leaning in hard, trying to get his way with you, allow him this space to show you what he wants to or attempts to do what he wants. If he does nothing, then use your poetry words and your feeling messages to tell him how you feel. Remember, I was talking about the suggestions? If you don't like what he's doing or not doing, then you have three options. You can lean back even further, take a step back, or you can walk away. Your choice is your freedom, and your freedom is about movement. So I think I want to, when I was talking about stepping back, leaning back, stepping back, and walking away, that's the movement that I always coach, and it's in the handbook also. If you look for movement, you'll find it there. But the most important thing is to realize the foundation of movement is that it's softness, but it's also self-confidence. And your self-confidence is not about weakness. Your softness is, remember, think about the core. Remember, I've always talked about, imagine that your spine is still and so that's your strength, and surrounding that steel spine is your softness. So the steel spine makes your core. That's your inner strength. That's your personal power. All right. And the softness surrounds that. And so our softness is not on the inside. Our softness is on the outside. Rory Ray always goes into this. And that's the basis of my coaching is the Rory Ray method. But the softness is on the outside because that's what could be reached. That's what could be touched. That's what's experienced by a man. But what supports that softness? Remember that steel spine on the inside? That's what supports the softness. So your core is that combination of inner strength and outer softness. And that's what helps you set your boundaries. You know what you want, you know what you don't want, because you have an inner strength. And the movement comes And because I have the outer softness, he can reach the outer softness, but my inner strength lets me know, I need to put a little relationship space here. He needs a little space, or I need a little space. That's normally what it is for me. I need a little space. That's leaning back. Uh, this situation is kind of getting a little touchy, a little out of hand. I may blurt something out. I need a pause. I need to step back. That's even more movement. I'm not putting up a wall. I'm not putting my strength on the outside, or better yet, I'm not putting my hardness, my inflexibility on the outside. I'm leaving my outside soft, but my inner core, my strength on the inside has been activated. And I need even more distance. I need even more relationship space. So now I'm taking a step back. Let's say it gets even worse. Let's say he's being Mr. Moody, or his male ego is all over the place, or he's just done something downright dirty. I'm going to step away. I'm going to remove myself from that environment. Do you see how the power of my core, my strength, guides everything? It moves me away. It takes my softness out of the shooting range. It protects my softness. I don't protect my softness by putting something hard or inflexible on the outside to protect it like a wall. Instead, I'm utilizing my inner strength, which moves me away from something that could be unpleasant for my softness, so that I get to stay soft on the outside. I don't have to become the she demon that everyone knows I can easily snap into. That's the old me. That's before leaning back. Okay. Yes, I still have to deal with that. But I can stay consistently this feminine, lovely person who needs space, or who needs to step away, or who needs to leave this environment so I don't turn into the she demon. All right. And also to protect myself. I don't want to get hurt. So, am I putting up a wall or stonewalling him? No. I'm stepping back, I'm walking away, and I'm doing something on my schedule. I'm doing something on my list that I like to do. I'm doing something to soothe myself or take care of myself. Self care, ladies, self care. And all of this falls into control. I can't control him. I can't control the situation. I can't control the relationship. I got to get out of here. I have an ex. He used to always tease me about that. There she goes. She's leaving. Yes, I am, because I don't want to lambast you with what my thoughts are and my feelings. I'm really not in touch with my feelings right now, except for the fact that I am annoyed. I need some me time. I need some tea time. I'll be back. Do you see? So is he miffed that I just stepped off? Yes, but he started it. He caused that. I'm going to deal with it, but the way that I have to deal with it is with some space. I need some time. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to interact on this right now, because I need to pause and to process it and go back to what I want and what I don't want. And if I have any kind of room of flexibility for this. And 9 times out of 10, in that moment, I have no flexibility. There's no flexibility available there. So that's that's why I want to touch on the movement, that you can lean back, you can step back, or you can walk away. I'm not going to get into feeling messages or poetry talk today, because that's a humongous topic. Humongous. And it would take you all over. You'd be dog earing so many parts of the handbook if I went there. Remember I talked about the pause? I Let me refresh you guys on the pause. I call it to pause and just be. And let me go into this. No matter how much you lean back, do you still find yourself feeling like putting demands on your man, wanting him to do things the way you want them done? Are you wanting to control how he treats you? I've been there and it can feel awful. You feel yourself leaning forward, but you can't stop yourself. You want what you want. You feel your happiness and maybe the relationship slipping away. And you feel yourself falling back into old patterns. You're wondering why he's causing all of this. Sound familiar? The good news is that you can change this. All you have to do is stop. 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 Stop demanding. Stop wanting. You know that feeling. This is where you pause. Pausing is stopping your old pattern. You turn from your old way of reacting. You turn from your masculine impulses. You turn your focus inward, focusing on your deepest and most honest feelings. And turning inward shifts you from your masculine to your feminine. Rory Ray calls that shifting your vibe. And this is about getting more feminine when you're acting masculine. And I believe it's when the feminine begins to guide the positive masculine energy. When your feminine is saying, "Hey, this is how I'm going to use my masculine." That's when that's when you're shifting your vibe because you're becoming more feminine. It's more of a feminine domain, even though there's room for masculine action. And I created positive masculine energy because even though I am the leaning back coach extraordinaire, I'm about 80% masculine energy. Yep. If I were to just let things be the way they are, I'm about 80% masculine and happy doing it. And I want it more feminine. The feminine is there. It's really dominant. It's there, but I function from the masculine. And the key for me was in letting my feminine guide my masculine. It's almost like sprinkling strawberry flavor on everything that I do, but more than the flavoring, it's the outcome. The outcomes of my masculine energy lead to beautiful, positive things in my life and just in the experiences of those in my realm. And that's why I call it positive masculine energy. But I don't want you guys to think that I am a totally feminine person. I have my feminine is very, very strong. My son used to say to me, "Your kung fu is not strong." My kung fu is strong. My feminine is very strong, but my go-to is my masculine. My tendency is my masculine. My impulses are my masculine. My patterns are my masculine. And when you exist that way, and I've done that like all my life, you figure about, wow, almost 20 years now. I've been trying to put more of a feminine flavor on my masculine actions. And that's where the beauty is. That's the secret for me. There are a lot of women who are blessed with a lot of feminine. I kind of envy them a little bit, but I found my own balance. And that's what this is all about. So when I'm talking about when you hear Rory Ray shift your vibe, or I'm telling you to shift into your feminine, I just wanted to give you a visual on that. My shifting into my feminine is even if there are some masculine actions that need to be taken, they're feminine guided. They're guided by my feminine. They're flavored by my feminine. I almost want to say they're controlled by my feminine. I think guided is a better action. So anyway, that's when I'm talking about softening up. That's what I mean. And softening up is in that moment of the pause is to stop doing. So remember, we're talking about the pause. And in the pause, I'm just stopping everything. I'm stopping making things happening. I'm stopping managing situations and I'm stopping making plans. Okay, here we go. You heard about the plans again? This is about letting go of the urge to control. And remember, how did we define control earlier? Anticipation, expectation, and envisioning things, what you envision to happen. What I'm talking about in the pause is just being in that feminine realm, experiencing, exploring, experimenting, just embracing what it is that you're feeling. And in this moment of the pause, whether you're leaning back, stepping back, or walking away, let him do the stuff of the relationship. Let him make the plans, let him get things done. And if he's not, then so be it. If he's not doing anything, fine, let that be. You have your schedule. You have your things that you enjoy doing that you could do right there on the spot. You don't even have to leave his presence or leave the house or leave the car or leave the restaurant. You're just taking a pause. Take a deep breath, focus inward, and just be. All right. You stop relationshiping. There's a tool called the rowboat, and maybe I'll put a link to the rowboat in here. I'm not sure. I that may be not for the public, but for the rowboat, you're the one rowing the relationship to the shore. You're you're rowing the two of you to the shore of the relationship that you want when he's supposed to be doing the rowing. Drop the oars. Just be. And once you're in this pause, once you've stopped doing, observe. Observe him. Don't respond. Don't react, especially don't react. But while you observe him, process your feelings. And you're like, what does that look like? Remember the analysis when I told you to go inward and evaluate what you want and what you don't want? And even if you had to go further to say, okay, I don't like this about this relationship, is this thing something I can accept, or is this not meeting what my actual relationship needs are? That's the processing I'm talking about. So you're processing your feelings, but I want you to go a little bit deeper than processing your feelings, because when you're relationshiping, it's deeper. It's more than what you're feeling. It's what you want, what you don't want, and sometimes there's some anticipation and expectation there, what you envision should happen. And that's why we're doing a deeper dive on this. We're going a little bit deeper than your feelings, because you're looking at your relationship needs. And if you have relationship needs, you're having expectations of him or the relationship, or you're anticipating things. And are you putting too much on the relationship? Are you putting too much on him? I'm not saying that you are. What I'm saying is take the time to do this evaluation. And that's the pause. And when you're pausing, guess what's happening? When you're pausing, you are also doing the movement, leaning back, stepping back, or walking away. And what does that do? That creates relationship space. Do you see how that's working out? Do you see how I'm showing you how all this got put together into relationshiping? So I'm going to hit on one more, and I think it's an important one. And it goes back to the communication, and communication is a section in the handbook. But what about when you're dealing with conflicts with him? All right, and arguments happen, and you just think about it. An argument could push him away, but heck, that could push you away too, right? Do you want that to happen? It's not really a competition thing, like, if what I'm going to say is push him away, well, maybe he needs to change what he's doing. Maybe what he says or does pushes you away, further away from him. You kind of like him, you kind of love him, kind of want to be with him. You wish you'd stop doing that. It hurts. Wouldn't it be good to minimize this and instead Maximize the good times, the tenderness, the closeness, the connection. Getting back to this tenderness is first we have to acknowledge that arguments and disagreements do happen, regardless to who's wrong. But what are you supposed to do? Again, I'm taking you back to the pause, okay? And going inward and evaluating yourself. What am I feeling right now and why? Are we running into an anticipation or expectation about something I want? Or are we dealing with a boundary about something that I don't want that I'm experiencing? All right. And this is not the time to have a conversation with him about it. Ladies, please process this first. Write it down in your journal. That's where the movement comes in. If you think you're going to blurt something out, lean back. If it's right there on the tip of your tongue, step back. If it's already flowing from your lips, walk away. Okay? Don't expose him to that. You can expose it to yourself, but process it. Ask yourself, where is this coming from? Is this coming from something that I want, that I'm anticipating or I'm expecting? Or am I dealing with something that I don't want? It has this hit a boundary. And does this boundary involve a relationship need? Is there a relationship need that I have that's not being met? Or is this something is this a deal breaker for me? Am I overreacting? Or is there a better way I can react? Or can I calm down and realize, this is one of the things about this relationship that I don't like, and maybe I need to give myself a little bit more space. And do you see when we go into this area of giving yourself more space, it's not like, oh, but I don't want him to leave and I don't want him to find someone else. And no, it's none of that. It's like, it's really about me. I really need to think about this for a moment. That's part of leaning back. That's part of relationship space. It happens naturally. It's what we do, and they notice it. And you're not doing it to hurt him. You're not doing it to push him away. As a matter of fact, you're trying to protect him. You're trying to protect him from what you could do. You're trying to protect him from your leaning forward. All right. You're sparing him of your leaning forward. And you just need to process that. I've told you what I do to process it. This is kind of general because for each person I would coach you individually, but you have the handbook. You've got a feel for this. You figure out what this whole process of pausing, leaning back, going inward, evaluating, is this something that I want that we're dealing with or something that I don't want? Is there a boundary? Is this boundary touching on a relationship need issue that I need to address? Do you see how this is not about having a conversation with him to fix this? It's about going within to see, one, if there's something that you need to adjust within yourself, or two, maybe you're staying in a relationship that's not meeting your needs, and why. You see, this is not the conversation to have with him. Yeah, I think we'll have to pick up on this again. And I know you're thinking, why don't you just put this in the handbook? Do you see it's all over the place? It's already over 130 some pages. It'll be like 600 pages by the time I finish this, which is why these videos I thought were a fantastic idea. So I've gone way over the schedule. If I haven't answered your question, but I feel satisfied that I did at least give you a real bird's eye view on what relationshiping is. But if I didn't, email me. And if you guys have any other situations that you think fit this and goes in a different direction and you want me to address it, let me know and I'll put together a second video on relationshiping. All right. Until next time. Ciao.